there, welcome back to the mini weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, man. Wow. Before getting too much into the reactions and everything, tonight we went with we're finishing up the third of 3 drinks in our Kul Mocks variety pack. So tonight we're doing the classic Margarita. And I have to say, this tastes excellent. I think for me, it's not, the time of the year that you typically drink them and all that kind of fun stuff. But, I really like it. Like I said, it's fall time, so, I'm not going to be drinking a lot of these. I'm going to drink the second one, and everything. But fall time isn't really the time of the year that you're looking for margaritas and that kind of stuff. But hey, this summertime, I may be getting a 12-pack of just these because this is fantastic. It tastes like, again, my brother kind of teases me sometimes when I tell him about these mocktails like he should, because for some reason I'm surprised, but this tastes exactly like what you would think a margarita that's non-alcoholic would be. It's got the lime. I just look it up. It's margarita time infused with freshly expressed lime, lemon, and agave tequila flavors to give you the classic margarita experience. They hit this one on the head. Like I said, Mock G&T wasn't all that surprised, wasn't all that, over the top about it. The peach hibiscus cider was pretty good, but I think I tried the other blackberry mojito mock mule, the strawberry margarita. It's been a while. I think I do remember actually liking the strawberry margarita as well, but not just within the 6 different ones that Kul Mocks have. This has to be probably one of my favorite mocktails out there. So definitely go give it a look. Like I said, just the classic margarita from Kul Mocks. For those that haven't listened the last couple weeks, Kul Mocks is woman-owned, and they're based just across the border in Wisconsin. Really cool stuff that they got going on. Like I said, right now they have their original 6 flavors. You can shop online. You can find it where you can get them in store. You can read more of them. And like I said, go check them out. Kul Mocks, it's KULMOCKS.com. And then you can also check them out on, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So definitely go give them a shout and let me know what you guys think. And and then before we go, I'm gonna have to do. It's been a while. I'm gonna go 9-2. I really like it. As weird as it is to say as a man, margaritas are amazing. I'm never somebody that gets a margarita in one of those, the big glasses like that. I usually try to, get them in like a normal glass or something like that. But fantastic. Would recommend, and let me know what you guys think. For Tommytown, both the men and women hockey teams were in action this last weekend. The men are coming fresh off of a win and tie against the Vermont Catamounts, and are going into their series here, not this weekend, but the next weekend, with a 1-1-1 record. So again, less than ideal, but trending in the right direction. That first game against Vermont was a game that they found themselves down often, and they were the ones throughout the game trying to catch back up and kind of get back into it. Jake Seibel made 32 saves in the game in a 5-5 tie, and then on Saturday, the men's team, behind 27 saves from Aaron Trotter, were able to get their first win of the season over the Catamounts with a goal in each period, which is fantastic. And then if that wasn't good enough, sophomore Mason Pullman this last week, Monday, was named the CCHA Defenseman of the Week for the first time in his career. He's a native of East Grand Forks, Minnesota, and he scored 2 goals and added an assist in the 5-5 tie. and tallied the game-winning goal in Game 2 against the non-conference game. His second goal on Friday night tied the game at 5 to push the game to overtime, which ultimately ended in a tie, like I said. And then, fun fact here, he matched the Tommie single-season program record for goals by a defenseman in just one weekend this last weekend, which is incredible. Sophomore is now tied with Ethan Gower from the 22-23 season and Trevor Zins from the 21-22 season, with at least 33 games remaining in the season. And he also surpassed his freshman season goal total of 2. So really great for this team. Like I said, up next for them, they will not play this upcoming weekend. They got a bye week, if you will, before having a home. It's kind of like a home and home series with the Minnesota Golden Gophers on the 25th of Friday. At 5:30, they will be playing at the 3M Arena at Mariucci. And then Saturday night, the 26th, is when they will, it's technically a home game for the men's team, as they will be taking on the Golden Gophers, which that should be an unbelievable game. I think last year the Gophers had an incredible team, and I thought the Tommies had a pretty good team last year as well. And they skated practically to a deadlock. I want to say the Gophers at the time were like I don't know that they were top 5, but they were definitely a top 10 team. Excuse me. A top 10 team in the nation at the time. So really remarkable and amazing that we were able to play them that close last year. It'll be interesting to see what happens come this year. Excuse me. So yeah, that's what we have for the men's team. Jesus, my apologies. And then for the women's team, they are, I mean, let's just say it, they're feeling themselves. They're coming out of this last weekend a perfect 4-0 and picking up 4-3 and 3-2 wins over the Minnesota State Mavericks. Really unbelievable job. In Game 1, Califranc picked up her third win of this season. Second, sorry. And then third coming the second night, as she played both games, and she picked up, a total of 53 saves between the two games, which is incredible. The Tommies actually found themselves leading both of these games, which is awesome. And they're taking their 4-0 record, going up to Duluth to take on the Bulldogs. Excuse me. The Bulldogs are currently number 5th in the nation, as the Tommies will look for their second straight conference sweep. It's definitely going to be a tall task. But if anything has shown us, this team is this is a really good team this year. As we're seeing early on, they're getting points from all around. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 girls that have scored goals, and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them have more than one. So you're seeing scoring from all around already. Sophomores Riley Bartz and Maddie Brown are leading the way for the team with 5 points apiece and 3 goals apiece as well. I think sophomores were as well. Kara Savicek is the only other player with 3 goals too. So it's really remarkable to see them getting points from all across the board. They have, like I said, they have 11 skaters that have already registered a goal. 11 and then 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 skaters already with a registered point. So really awesome. And we've talked about this before, just in terms of hockey in general, college hockey, whether it's men or women's, the PWHL or the NHL. Like, when you have scoring top to bottom from many different so you can see my face a little bit better. But yeah, when you're able to get scoring and points from so many different people, it really takes the pressure off of your stars or that first line to, oh my gosh, we got, if, for us to win, we got to go out and each have 3 point, games apiece, or 3 points apiece in a game, to get the W and that kind of stuff. So really, really awesome to see. Can't wait to see what they can do this upcoming weekend. And yeah, like I said, so they will be going to they'll be going up to UMD this upcoming weekend. Friday the 18th at 3 p.m. Will be game number 1, and then game number 2 will be at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So good luck to them. Can't wait to see what they can do, and hopefully they come back 6-0. And then now we get into football. So for the Tommies, they're coming off of their second straight Pioneer Football League win, and finally back to 500 after dropping, 3 of their first 4 games. Getting a 39-32 win over Marist in Poughkeepsie, New York. And this was a bit of a roller coaster of a game. The Tommies started off taking a 15-0 lead into the second quarter before Marist rattled off 18 unanswered points in the second quarter. The Tommies were able to attack on a Ben Hoyland field goal to take an 18-18 game into halftime. And then ultimately that third quarter was when Tatioka, I still have no idea how to pronounce that last name. I swear I say it different every single time. Threw a 21-yard pass to Jacob Wildermuth to give us a 25-18 lead, and that would ultimately be the difference maker as the fourth quarter saw us trade blows. We would take a 32-18 lead. Not long after that, they would score and make it 24-32. We would make it 39-24, and they obviously, made it 32-39. And the rest is history. I gotta say, I was kind of surprised we played them this close, considering the last 2 times we played them. I mean, I can double check so you guys don't, have me by my throat necessarily. But I mean, their first game they beat them 27-7. I guess in 22 was closer, 38-24. But last year they beat them 49-14. So, like I said, and we talk about this all the time, a win is a win. It doesn't matter how you get it. It doesn't matter if you win or lose by 50 or 1 point. A win is a win. But interesting to see them, keep it, Mars, keeping it close. All that fun stuff. And then for the Tommie football team, they will be in action this upcoming Saturday, the 19th, in Valspario, Indiana, as they will take on Valpo, looking for their 3rd straight win and looking to stay a perfect 3-0 in conference play. And then starting the 19th, they'll go every other. So the 19th, they're in Indiana. 26th, they'll be home. November 2nd, they'll be away. November 9th, home. You get the point. So should be a good game. Excuse me, coming into it. The like I said, we're obviously looking for win number 3 in a row. Valpo is entering the contest with a 2-4 record, 0-2 in Pioneer Football League play. So hopefully we can kind of use that to our advantage, and step on the gas early, get an early lead, and and I just saw this. So there were a couple of weekly awards for the Tommies football team this last week. Tatioka was so impressive on Saturday that he actually garnered a Pioneer Football League Offensive Player of the Week honor for the first time in his Tommie career. I didn't realize that. He ended the game completing 16 of 21 passes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also ran for 24 yards on 12 attempts, rushing for 2 touchdowns as well. So, again, you take a look at those stats, and it's no wonder he got that accomplishment. And then joining him was first-year kicker Ben Hoyland, who was the conference's nominee for the National Freshman of the Week honor. So a huge congratulations to both of those guys. And yeah, like I said, so far, Ben Hoyland's been on it. He went 4 for 4 in a point after attempts against Mars, 1 for 1 on field goal attempts. And yeah, it should be a fun time of the season for this Tommie team. I mean, again, I had them going 10-2, and I think at this point the best they could do is 9-3, which I think is very doable. I mean, I look at their schedule and I think there's no reason to think they can't. I think it should be, knock on wood, relatively easy for them to kind of get on 2, 3, 4, 5 game winning streak. I think once they get to the end of their season and host Drake and then go to Butler, those should be tough games just in terms of both of those teams have played us close in the past. Both of them, I believe, have beaten us once. And Drake is the defending Pioneer Football League champion. So to be the best, you got to beat the best. And then they end the season with the game hosting Dayton. So we shall see how things shake out. And then as for Gophers, so for us here on the podcast, the Tommie football team will be, between the Tommies and Gophers, the only team playing this weekend, as the Gophers will have an off week or a bye week, which is, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, is if you think about this outing that we had against UCLA, again, win is a win, loss is a loss. It doesn't matter how you get them. I get that. My God, this Gopher team should not have played UCLA that close, especially after coming off of such a high of a win against USC. I guess if I'm being completely honest, it's really frustrating to see them play a shitty team like this so close. I mean, it's a typical, this Gopher team plays to the level of their competition. If they're playing a really good team, they play unbelievable for a reason. For some reason, like I said, they beat USC, who's nationally ranked, and then a team in Michigan that beat us 52-10 last year, we had a legitimate chance to tie up the game with at the end of the game. But again, really looking at this Gopher game, and it was really that first half that led you like, what the fuck is going on? As the Gophers actually went into half down 10-0. Even in the second half, there were some moments where you kind of thought, what's going on? Like, why? Like, what's going on with play calling? Why aren't we just playing better football? In the end, we ended up winning, which again is all you can ask for, because again, should the Gophers stay consistent and beat teams that they should be able to beat, very similar to the Tommie team, there's no reason going into that November 23rd game against Penn State, there's no reason they can't be on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game win streak. It's just a matter of making it happen. But between them, they'll host Maryland 2 weekends from now on the 26th. They'll go to Illinois, and they'll go to Rutgers. And, I think I'll make a hot take right here. I think if the Gophers, after playing Michigan on the 28th of September, playing Michigan really close, beating USC, beating UCLA, if they are able to beat Maryland and Illinois come November 2nd is still 22 or higher, if we win these next 2 games, I think there's no reason the Gophers shouldn't be 25 or 24 in the nation. I think there are a lot of people that I've talked to that believed after playing Michigan by 3 points and then beating USC, a lot of people, believe that we should be 24-25. I was the opposite side of things. I was saying, no. This is a team that lost to North Carolina, lost to Iowa, got destroyed by Iowa. But was of the notion that, hey, like, don't get me wrong, those two games back then were impressive. But at the end of the day, being top 25, like, it's not like a weekly thing. Like, it's what have you done thus far? And I'm sure the committee's been like, hey, like, it's great. They won those two close games, but they lost to North Carolina without their starting quarterback for a good portion of the game. Sure, they beat two, FCS schools, but then they got beat up by Iowa, and a loss is a loss to Michigan. So, I can see why you would want it. I didn't agree with that. I thought it was deserving that they shouldn't have been in the top 25. But I think, come Come Monday, November 4th, if the Gophers are, what would that be? If the Gophers are 6-3 overall and 4-2 in the conference, they should be somewhere between 25 and 23, maybe 22. But hey, that's just one man's opinion. So, yeah, that's what I have for you guys as far as that is concerned. And then on to our picks for the week. I am stoked. I'm so excited for you guys. We'll show the graphics down here now for the college football picks and for the NFL picks. We had a clean sweep last week, guys. We went a perfect 100%. All three of our picks for college football hit for you guys. All three picks for the NFL hit as well. Super excited. And honestly can't believe we're already giving picks for you guys for week 8 of college football and week 7 of the NFL season. Seems like these seasons just started, which is completely insane to me. So, without further ado, the mini weekend college football week 8 picks of the week, locks of the week for you guys, whatever you want to call them. First one I got for you guys, Alabama, Tennessee, under 56.5 points. Look, Tennessee's offense looked god-awful against Florida this last week. They couldn't score on Florida, and, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Florida doesn't have a great defense, and I think it's just insane how bad that Florida defense has been thus far this season. Couple that with the fact that I personally have confidence in this Alabama defense to turn it up a notch once they're playing a good team like Tennessee. So I like this being a low-scoring affair. I think it'll be a defensive battle and should be a fun game to watch. Again, with the point spread being at 56.5, game could still very well be, 24-20, that kind of thing. I just don't think it's going to be a high-flying game like we're accustomed to see in college football. Second pick I have for you guys is Louisville +4 over Miami. Look, I like Jeff Bram as the head coach there. I think he had a really great career over at Purdue, and I think he's, even in a small sample size already, he's already turning things around for the Cardinals, starting 4-2 already. I think their offense behind quarterback Taylor Shuck, they're playing some really good football right now. Couple that with the fact that the Hurricanes have been struggling on the defensive side of the ball in the last couple of games. So I really like Louisville +4 in this one. I have confidence that I think they will win this game outright, if nothing else. If all else fails, it should be, a 2 or 3 point game as far as I'm concerned. And then last, but certainly not least, my third pick for you guys is Rutgers -4.5 against UCLA. This is a home game for Rutgers. And with that, it's going to be a long road trip. Fun fact, teams in the Big Ten this year that have traveled about that far for road games have not fared well against these spread thus far. So, and I'm sure a couple people are thinking, Jack, Rutgers just got their asses kicked by Wisconsin. I get that, but I think UCLA is ass. We talked about it a little bit a couple minutes ago against Gophers. So I think Rutgers has a bounce back game, and truthfully, I think they should beat the UCLA Bruins by at least a touchdown, truthfully. But I like the 4.5 points they're giving the Scarlet Knights, so I'm going to take them. All right, moving right along. Wild. 4 games in, Wild have not looked bad. by any stretch of the word bad. 2-2. Less than ideal to have a guy like Joel Eriksson Ek already out with a broken nose. I think he went down. What was that? He went down in the in that Kraken game, and yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but there's no doubt in my mind we should be 3-1 right now. A couple of people reached out with kind of vague questions just in terms of that Kraken game when I thought of everything, and I I side with a lot of the people that you're seeing on Twitter and Instagram talking about it. I think that call against Brodeen's tripping is arguably one of the worst, if not the worst, penalty calls I've seen in my life. And then you add the fact that like a play or two before that Joel Eriksson Ek took a fucking elbow to the face so bad that not only was he bleeding, but he broke his nose. Like the fact that all of that happened within a 30-second time period, and the Wild found themselves on the penalty kill, and not only found themselves on the penalty kill, but ended up giving the Seattle Kraken a goal that would take, I want to say that gave them a 3-2 lead. But anyways, like it gave them a goal, and I'm pissed. I mean, again, don't mean to go down the rabbit hole, but a couple things I will say about it. One, any time I get guys are human. We talk about it all the time in football with all the bang bang plays. Like I said, I know everybody's human. It's tough to make all the correct calls, and it's hard to see everything. But I think any time, especially in the NHL, any time, whether you see it or not, and this may be an unpopular opinion just with everything that's been coming to life and that you're able to do in the NHL now with as far as challenging and stuff like that. But anytime a guy is fucking bleeding, like unless you see it because of a puck, anytime a guy is bleeding, the game should stop and they should look at the tape and give a penalty for it. Like a double minor. I mean, it's completely insane that there wasn't a penalty call on Joel Eriksson Ek, and it's completely equally as insane that there was a penalty called on Jonas Brodin for tripping a guy who the only reason it even looked like he tripped him was because he was tripped first. So it blows my mind. Like I said, there's no reason this team shouldn't be 3-1-0. There's no reason that we shouldn't be 3-0-1 because both of our losses have been in overtime so far, which isn't a bad thing. All that means, it's kind of nice, to pick up at least 1 point in each game, each of our first 4 games, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so far everybody's been looking good. I think I just said the stats up. No surprise here, but Kirill's already leading the team with 6 points. Boldy's right behind with 5, and then both Rossi and Zuccarello have 4 apiece. And then goal scorers, I don't think anybody has 3 goals yet. No, they do not. But Boldy, Zuccarello, and Hartman are all tied with 2 goals. They're 2 goals apiece. They're the only 3 players with multi points. Yeah, and so far it's not looking good for one of my bold predictions I made before the season. Both Marat and Liam Ogren have both made the team so far. They're still on it. But between the two of them, 1 assist and 1 point. But early on in the season, lots of hockey still has to be played. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens and how the season obviously transpires and things like that. So for those that are interested, Wild next up, they're off for a couple of days here before they get back in action on the 19th, which I believe is Saturday. And they're in the midst of that 7-game road trip that we talked about. So on Saturday, they'll be at Columbus for a 6 o'clock game. Tuesday, the 22nd, they'll be in Florida for a 5:30 game. And then those will be the only 2 games that they'll play before we will be on next. So that's what we have on the Wild. And then the the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're not going to do too much on. We're not going to get too much into the Timberwolves here tonight. Part of that being because we have a, we don't want to say it wrong, but we have an NBA preview slash like prediction podcast coming up Monday the 21st at 8 p.m. with a guest. So that should be fun. But yeah, they just got done playing the Chicago Bulls tonight. Josh Minot led the way with 18 points, and they'll finish up preseason play with a game in Target Center against the Denver Nuggets tomorrow night, Thursday the 17th. But yeah, I have to say, again, you try not to look too much into it, but through the first 4 games, and a lot of the stars haven't played much. I think by design they wanted to throw Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo in there just to kind of get them some reps with the new squad and all that kind of fun stuff. So should be a fun season. And like I said, I mean each one of these games, there's been a different guy has gone up. I mean in the win, and it's a good sign of things to come. I mean you look at the win against the Lakers, and you had Minot go off for 22 points on 9 of 11 shooting from the floor. And then you had Dillingham, who went off for 21 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists. Luke Garza added 20 points himself. And then in their win over Philadelphia, Naz Reid put up 19 points. But on top of that, you saw, where'd he go? You had Dillingham put up 7 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. McDaniels added, 17. But somebody who's actually been impressing me so far is Dante DiVincenzo. I saw some crazy stat that over the last 4 seasons, only Steph Curry has made more 3-pointers than him. And last year, he made the most 3-pointers, I think, in the league, just last season. So, I mean, I think I speak for a lot of Minnesota fans, Minnesota sports fans, and Minnesota Timberwolves fans when I say this last year, the Wolves finally became a better than average 3-point team, which is a huge accomplishment. So to see them take that next step with that, because years past, they just haven't had that part of their game. And then you're able to get a guy like Dante DiVincenzo that could just shoot the shit out of 3-ball. Should be a really fun year. Like I said, we're going to kind of stop there because we do have that the NBA podcast coming up here on Monday, the 21st, 8 p.m. with a guest. So stay tuned, come back. It should be a fun one. And then, before we get into that, into the Vikings getting back into the thick of things after their bye week. But yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Lynx, who are currently playing right now in Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. I just looked this up last night. They're currently in a 3-way tie with I can't remember what their nickname was, but the Houston WA team and the LA Sparks. They're tied in a 3-way tie with those two teams with 4 NBA titles. So should the Lynx between tonight and the next 2 games win 2 of those games, they'll be, as much as I hate to say it, the Boston Celtics of the WNBA, sitting atop everybody else with 5 titles, which is amazing. I did not realize that until I was kind of poking around today, kind of getting ready, knowing that they were playing tonight. So good luck to Courtney Williams, Kayla McBride, Fiza Collier, all those gals. Hopefully they can bring another championship to Minnesota. But without further ado, the last section that we have for you guys of things tonight, the NFL. Before I get too much into the Vikings, I actually did have a question from Sarah, and Sarah wanted to know, are there any games that you're really looking forward to this week other than the Vikings game? And that's a great question, Sarah. There's usually always at least one or two games, if not more games, than the Vikings that I kind of look forward to. One of them is actually that the 8 a.m. London game, the Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots. And oddly enough, the reason I like this game is because you got two 1-5 teams going at it. I don't think Trevor Lawrence. I think he's regressed. I don't know what's going on with him, but you got two 1-5 teams going at it, and I think I really like it because I anticipate both these teams giving it their all, and ultimately finding out one of these teams at the end of this game will be 2-5, and we'll have a glimmer of hope that okay, maybe we can turn things around, maybe we can vie for a wild card spot. It's going to be a long road, but they know okay, we have 2 wins now. Let's see what can happen. And unfortunately, the other team will be sitting at 1-6, and front office, and everybody will have to look at themselves in the face and figure out okay, like we're 1-6. We might as well just kind of start laying off and playing for a top pick. And truthfully, should Jacksonville go 1-6, I think there may be some more drastic changes happening. Should the New England Patriots go 1-6, I think if the Patriots go 1-6, there's not going to be a ton of worry within that organization, just from the standpoint of they kind of expected this to be a crappy year. They were kind of hoping of getting another top draft pick to pair with Drake May and, some of those other guys that they got going on there. Jacksonville, I mean, shit, I don't have it in front of me. Well, my preseason prediction, I think I had them right in the thick of things for a wild card spot in the AFC East. So I think should they go 1-6, I think Doug Peterson's probably going to get fired. I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to get benched. And you're probably gonna see some bigger things happen with that game. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I like the battle of the I like the battle for Ohio, Cincinnati going to Cleveland. All in all, I think Cincinnati is the better team, as we see in Cincinnati being the favorite in it. But hopefully, I just think Cleveland is a pass. So hopefully this is another game for Cincy that, obviously this week they had kind of an ugly win over the Giants, but hopefully they can, get this win over the Browns and get to 3-4 and okay, all of a sudden instead of 2-4, you're 3-4 and you're kind of right there with Baltimore and Pittsburgh to, maybe make a push, be competitive. And then even that Monday night, even that Baltimore Tampa Bay matchup, I think with that game as being in Tampa, and that'll be a big game to find out, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a real threat this year, or are they just a good team that hasn't played a ton of competition? Because I look at this Tampa Bay team, and I don't think in my opinion, they haven't beaten a ton of really good teams. Their one impressive win for me is the Lions. I think Jaden Daniels' first game, Washington, nobody knew what to expect. They get that win. They lost to the Broncos, who are ass. They beat the Saints, who have shown that after their 2-0 start, they're a little bit of frauds. And even the Eagles, who are kind of a lackluster team this year, but that game should be a good game, I think. In that game, Baltimore is favored. Shit, they're only favored by 3.5 points. So, I mean, yeah, again, for me, that's one of those games that if this Tampa Bay team can win that game or keep things close against a good, solid Baltimore Ravens team, I think we have to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers seriously. And if it's just a blowout, then it's just, similar to the Saints, where it's just kind of like, all right, what's done is done, and you had your fun and kind of back to reality. So yeah, those are probably some of the games I'm looking forward to. And then obviously I think I speak for a lot of people too. I don't think there needs to be much said about this, but the Kansas City San Francisco game should be a good one, for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, we have our Minnesota Vikings coming fresh off their bye week, which, again, if we're being honest with ourselves, this bye week was necessary. I'm not going to go as far to say we were in desperate need of it, but I think if you're a Minnesota sports fan, or a Vikings fan, you're lying to yourself if you're saying if you think the last two halves or the second halves against the Jets and the Packers, like our offense looked good. They didn't. Sam Darnold even wasn't playing great, or the defense kind of made adjustments in the second half and adapted to that. So I think having a week off, getting able to kind of get things back going, I should say it's sounding like they officially took what's his name? They officially took TJ Hawkinson off of the IR, and there's speculation in terms of when he's going to come back. I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think there's a chance he could come back against the Lions. If I'm being completely honest, unless they're 100% thinking about using him as a decoy, I don't think it's a smart move. I think same place, same team that tore his Achilles or tore his ACL last year, not a good look. I think regardless of the outcome, I think if you're able to wait one more week, you get him. You get him back for arguably your easiest stretch. You're going. You got the Rams, Colts, Jags, Titans, and should be a dominant 4-game stretch for us having him back, especially too. But yeah, truthfully, if I were Kevin O'Connell, the only reason I would have him play in this game is if he truly was 100% and ready to go. With that said, I do not believe he's 100%. I think he's probably closer to 75, 80%. So I think if you give him, and again, it's not like we're looking at, you're looking at a matter of a couple days. So he would either play Sunday the 20th or Thursday the 24th. And I think, you give him the 20th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 extra days. It makes a world of difference. And even though Aiden Hutchinson isn't going to be on the defense for the Lions, I think even without Aiden Hutchinson, this is still a very hard-nosed, tough defense. And I think if you wait to play him against teams like the Rams and the Colts and the Jaguars, they just don't have as good as defenses. And he's able to maybe play a little bit more freely than if he were playing against the Detroit Lions this early on, him coming back. So I actually have quite a bit to say on this Vikings game. So before we get into that, why don't we give you guys our picks for week 7 of the NFL season. So first and foremost, Vikings game. I know I originally had this one as a loss. This is a game at home for us. I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm switching what I think is going to happen in this game for a number of reasons. I think, number one, Aiden Hutchinson was going to be out first and foremost. I know there's 10 more players on the Detroit defense, but I just think a guy like Aiden Hutchinson just is kind of the heartbeat of that defense. He accounts for half their sacks already. Obviously, prayers go to him for a speedy and healthy recovery. You obviously hate to see injuries like that happen, but obviously for a team like the Vikings, I think it works in our favor because I think with a guy that's making, is going to be a sizable hole on their defense. And I think package that with one extra week of freshness for Darnold, Jay Jettas, Oliver, Munt, Addison, all those guys to kind of get the things going. And that offensive line too. I think Darnold's going to have a lot more time in the pocket. I think he's going to be able to go through his reads. He's going to be patient, have his time. And I think it's going to be an all-around, overall good game for both of our offenses, especially our offense. As good as our defense is, this is still a high-flying offense that we're going up against. A high-flying offense that just put up, 40-plus points against the Dallas Cowboys. So, yeah. Number 2, I think this team has been outstanding against the run. So if we can stymie the team in the Detroit Lions, who are, what is it? They're the third most. They're the team with the third most rushing attempts thus far with 33. So I think if we can keep that rushing game for them off balance, I think it puts so much more pressure on Jared Goff to throw passes and make things happen with his arm. Not that he can't, but we have so many guys on the back end that can make plays happen and knock those balls up. That should we make them a one-dimensional team, it should work in our favor, truthfully. But yeah, ultimately I got us staying undefeated for at least another week, going 6-0, winning 31-23. The Vikings are only 2.5 point favorites in this one. So yeah. And then, lock of the week, I got the LA Rams, who are 6.5 point favorites over the Vegas Raiders. Look, the Rams are coming off of a much needed bye. Cooper Kupp is back practicing and is looking like he might go against the Raiders, which would be huge. But as much as the change to O'Connell at quarterback has improved that offense, not only have they lost 2 games, but they just traded away Devontae Adams, which in my mind makes his offense that much worse. He is not unbelievable and not in his prime anymore, but he's still Devontae Adams. And truthfully, with them trading him, it kind of, in my mind, signals that they may be trying for a top draft pick in 2025. Simply put, to wrap this one up, I think the Rams are just a better team, and Stafford. I got the Rams winning this one 28-17. And then upset of the week, Giants. 3-point underdogs over the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, this game's pretty simple. Last week, the Eagles didn't look great despite beating a Browns team, while the Giants lacked offense and looked decent in a close loss to the Bengals. I think right now that Giants defense is actually playing really well. In fact, with the bye week and us off, they're leading the league with 26 sacks currently, and I really believe they will get back to receiver Malik Neighbors in this one, which will be the difference maker, making him a non-threat. So I actually have the Giants winning this one 24-20. And on the note of those sacks, one of the things I wanted to look into for this podcast for you guys was, despite being off a week, where do our players and our team rank amongst some of the stats? And it's insane. Team-wise, we're still 6th in the entire league in turnover differential with +4, tied for 5th with 27.8 points per game, 3rd in the league in points against per game with 15.2, also tied for alone in 3rd with 20 sacks, tied for 2nd in total takeaways, 2nd in rushing yards allowed per game at 67.2, 2nd in points against with 67, 1st in rushing yards allowed at 336, and 1st in interceptions, which is insane to me. A couple other ones, Sam Darnold's 5th in the league with yards per pass attempt with 8.1 and 4th in touchdowns with his 11. JJ is 6th in the league, 6 weeks in, 350 yards so far. 450 yards. He's the only receiver in the top 6 that doesn't have 30 catches, which is remarkable. Like, this guy is getting shit done with what he's given. And then he's tied for 6th in the NFL with 4. There's actually no receiver currently that has more than 5. So he's, there's a five-way tie for first with 5, and then he's tied with, I think, 4 or 5 guys with 4. So it's incredible to see what's going on here. I think, for me, ultimately, I think, again, you look at both of these teams. Aiden Hutchinson, for me, like I mentioned, just leaves too much of a hole. I think if Aiden Hutchinson plays this game, I think it really could go either way, and it could be, a 21-19, 20-21 game. But just with him out, and us fresh off our bye, and very similar teams, and at home, I mean, shit. We made the Houston Texans get 4 pre-snap penalties in a row, with just how tough it is. Bill Belichick said it himself. Within the last week in terms of U.S. Bank just being a tough place to play. Now, I think for me, preseason having this one as a loss was more a tribute to I didn't know how this team was going to do in the first 5 games, and the fact that we're winning against these better teams and our defense is connecting like I thought they would. Sam Darnold is playing even better than I thought he would. It's insane, and yeah, I love it. So should be a good game. But before we go, I did not forget. So this game for me, I think it was pretty easy for me to come up with my defensive prediction for the week, or defensive prediction for the game. So I'll give that to you guys first. Sorry, I know what it is. I just want to have my notes up for you. Here it is. I think the Vikings are going to be the first team to hold the Detroit Lions to under 100 rushing yards. I think one of the biggest keys to Detroit's leading the NFL in points per game has to be boasting the league's 4th best rushing attack. They've yet to record fewer than 116 rushing yards in a single game this season. And part of that has to do with their double use of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. But I think so far we've just done an exceptional job of holding the running game. Don't get me wrong, in all 4 of the games we've had, I think we've given up in each of the 4 games at least one 10-plus yard rush. But we make up for it. I think they've gotten a lot of tackle for losses as well, and I think it finally comes for them. And then on the offensive side of things, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't know what to go with. I kind of looked at what we've done in the past, but thinking about it, I thought I'd go with something very similar to defensive. I think despite not having Aaron Jones, I think we're going to have a 100-plus yard rushing game. I think as of now, it looks like the Vikings are, like I said, aren't going to have Aaron Jones in the lineup. We're going to have to rely on Ty Chandler and Myles Gaskins. We also just traded for Cam Akers, who hasn't done unbelievable, but you have to think with the holes and some of the things our offensive line has been able to do that these guys should be able to get it going. And I think that's going to be key for this offense too. I think, again, they don't need to be unbelievable, but if throughout the game, every time we rush, we can get a solid 2, if nothing else, 3 to 5 yards, I think that shows the Lions that they got to play the run, and then that just going to open the floodgates for our passing game to kind of get rolling. All those types of fun things. So, can't wait to see it get going. Worth noting, I gotta admit, I haven't been great this bye week of making my pick'ems, but I'm gonna give you guys an update because I know some of you guys are invested in this, and I love that. So, so far we got Jay Hughesy 77 picks in loan, kind of running away a little bit with number 1. He's got 620 points. Skull JR1 has 590 and is in a 2-way tie with Jander Nuts picks 1. Then in 4th place, we got Andre the Giants picks 1 with 580 or 550, and Sam Puppies picks 1. Nope, they both got 560, not 550. So apologize there, but yeah, congratulations to those 5. Should be good to get some separation. See, I'll be able to kind of as we get to the heart of the season here, and then lastly before we let you guys go here, as a reminder, the first touchdown challenge we're coming back obviously with for week 7 here, so get those picks in by noon on Sunday the 20th. This week we have $70 rolling in from week the Jets game and Jets and the Houston game. Nobody got either of them right. So this week, $5 to win 75 or 70 essentially. Make sure you get your picks in. Once again, like I said, I'll make sure I put the my Venmo handle for you guys to send it in. And once again, very simple. It's just a flat $5, and then where you'd usually put for pizza, concert tickets, whatever, put Justin Jefferson rushing touchdown, Harrison Smith pick 6, Dallas Turner scoop and score, Aaron Jones, or somebody for the Lions, David Montgomery rushing touchdown, Amon-Ra St. Brown rushing touchdown, whatever you think it is, send it to me. Good to go. So that's what we have for you guys tonight. Like I mentioned, stay tuned. Monday the 21st, we're having our NBA preseason / preview podcast with the guest. So be sure to turn for that. But with that, I will leave you with till next time, Minnie.